People who close their eyes for the sake, I was like, I don't know if I'd do that out of the house. It just looked so submissive.
It looked really vulnerable. Yeah. Okay, well, hello. Welcome back to Book Stupid. My name is Claire.
And I'm Molly.
And this is Book Stupid.
You're stupid, not us.
I'm book smart.
What's up? How you been?
Not much. I have been in the air.
Yeah.
I was in San Francisco this week.
And your sinuses are suffering for it.
Yeah, I have been sick. I'm sick again. I feel like I've talked about it a lot. Yeah. I don't have bowling ball head this time. It was just like a normal.
Yeah, I'm worried that like part of it is the sinus.
Just like this is me now. Yeah. Yeah. This is
maybe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it was actually after we recorded the last podcast, I went home and I was like, huh. You know when you just got like that little tickle and you're like, probably nothing. And then you wake up the next morning like, oh, I feel like I'm dying.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was sick.
Loving that.
And literally I was like blowing my nose. The annoying thing, so I was in San Francisco for work. And the annoying thing about like being sick is that like once you're no longer, like once your boogers aren't green anymore, you're still like a fountain, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I had to blow my nose like every 2 seconds and people were like, ew. And I was like, I'm sorry, like I'm not actually sick, but like,
did you carry like a little fanny pack of tissues?
I became one of those people who like brings the little thing of tissues, you know what I mean?
Really makes you think of a handkerchief culture.
Yeah,
that is disgusting.
Oh, I was gonna say like effective maybe.
I can't even, because, like, you cover it pretty quickly, every square inch of that hanky.
Yeah.
And now what? We're just doubling down? I'm blowing fresh snot onto crusted booger? And how often is that getting washed? Even if daily, not enough.
Even what?
Even if daily, not enough.
You don't think so?
Well, think of how much you've spouted in the past week.
I know. But, like, I think I'm, like, because it's all coming from a good place, you know? Like, it's all, like... It's all the same. It's not like I'm sharing my hanky with someone else. Like, it's my hanky.
And now this actually does raise a matter that perhaps stupid heads could weigh in on. I gave you grief mere minutes ago for using a tissue you'd already blown your nose on to wipe a little bit of your eyes were watering.
Yeah. It's okay. I was crying. I think we can admit it. I think it's pretty obvious. It looks like I like smoked a joint before getting on the pod today.
Oh yeah, I read about it. But yeah, I don't think a tissue should travel from nose to eye.
And I'm like, it's all mine. It's all my shit, and your nose and throat are connected, so...
Think of how different the stuff that comes...
my ears aren't my eyes, I forgot.
I think how different certain things that come out of your different holes are.
Oh, yeah, I guess it's like the UTI problem, where it's like, you can't have your butt toilet paper touch your vagina toilet paper.
Yeah, do you want UTIs? I don't know, man.
I think you are traumatized because you had a lot of styes recently.
Totally, yeah. Yeah.
Which I think that there is a cultural thing happening where people are getting styes more frequently.
You keep sending me sty content.
Yeah.
It does make me feel seen, but I am like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And I now see commercials for the experimental drug my ophthalmologist told me I should consider, which was developed for dogs with mites. But yeah, now I see commercials for it all the time. So that makes me think, actually, I have a pretty mainstream ailment.
Yeah.
Mine, knock on frickin' wood, rarely developed like your puffy
when
big
you
old
get
puff.
like, when your eye closes, that's when you didn't have the eye closure. No. That's good.
But I did, it took swift and preventative action.
Yeah, you did.
But yeah, no, I get them constantly. And when I was in France, I had one of the, like, there's a whole spectrum of styes I develop.
Yeah.
And now I know who I'm dealing with pretty early, like based on how she shows up to the party. I know when she's leaving, how much of a splash she intends to make.
Quite literally.
But like, you know, you've got your standard fare, like middle of lid.
Yeah.
And she's troublesome because sometimes she becomes a squatter.
Yeah.
In fact, a Chalasian.
Yeah, I was gonna say her name.
A Chalasian. And I have a Chalasian that migrated up lid, which is really upsetting.
Like
and
salmon.
Now she just... Yeah, like salmon with favorite food. I don't know if that's connected or not. But that won't go away, and that's actually why I saw the ophthalmologist. I was like, it bothers me. I can see it. He's like, oh yeah, everyone can see it. Great, cool. But he was like, basically like, if I see you 3 years from now, I can guarantee it won't be there. But anytime in that period, it might be.
That's a crazy, crazy timeline.
Yep. He's like,
and the only thing you can do is take the dog drug?
No, that's like so I don't keep getting styes. Because so then another type of stye I get, which this really freaks people out, is like, I'm sorry, but like whiteheads on my waterline, essentially.
See, to me, that's like that's your standard.
That really freaks me out.
Yeah, I don't like it. No offense.
No. But you think that's more that's stye to you versus an inlid?
Well, I think like when I've seen styes that turn into closure, it's like there's usually a head.
Yeah, but a head like a bump. You don't see.
No, you see like a white.
Pus?
You see white. Yeah, it's like a white head.
In the inner lid?
Yeah.
Curious.
I think that's when you know it's like. Hopefully
you're near to relief.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only like white heads I see are really small, but that makes them even creepier.
That is creepy. That's like milia of the eye.
Yeah, but those typically resolve in like a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently I should really seriously consider. And the ophthalmologist goes, yeah, like it could be, because I really started getting chronic styes just before my wedding. And the ophthalmologist was like, it could be like stress, like your cortisol's up, like it's why people get acne when they're stressed.
Yes.
It's like your pores clog, whatever. But he was like, it's kind of a vibe you're on. You probably have an overgrowth.
It's your vibe.
Of a certain mite. And
a mite? It's a mite?
Yeah. And he was like,
whoa.
Do you wear like makeup a lot? And I was like, no. And I'm not even just saying that. Like, I bet a lot of bitches sit in this chair and lie to you about, but I literally don't wear makeup. And he was like, no, like, actually, I believe you. Oh.
He was like, have you considered maybe even a tinted moisturizer or a little concealer?
Just a bit of blush to just bring everything a bit up. Yeah. No. I didn't have to convince him at all. He's like, yeah, no, I see your
pores, yeah.
Again, I am diagnosing your vibe. So, yeah. So I think it's about time I get on dog medicine.
Wow.
Which you might consider given the unknown provenance.
Yeah.
Of
I think I'm a little,
illness.
I think I'm like, I don't get styes. I'm not like one of those girls.
Right. You're not. So nice for you.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is like your chronic illness, consider dog medication.
Right.
Because apparently that's like the vanguard of
right, like maybe it'll help. Maybe I have mites.
And Hector really doesn't mind medicine at all because they are all made to taste like beef. What if our medicine were like that?
I think that might bother me. Actually.
But okay, but I've long thought this, like, most medicines should have a gummy version. Why is it just like melatonin and like make a gummy bear of my Z-Pack?
Well, I think because a lot of medicines don't taste good. I think it would be hard to make it taste good.
To overcome
because like
the active ingredients.
I think about this all the time when I'm taking my Lexapro. Like sometimes it will dissolve on my tongue and I'm like I'm like a dog. I'm like, this tastes so bad.
Right. So chewing would make that worse.
And I think to over. Because think about like, did you have to take like vitamins as a kid?
Yeah, I guess so.
Those never tasted good to me. I think they were trying.
I had gummy guys. They were great.
You had nice parents. Yeah. I had parents who were like, you should feel this. You should feel how your health.
Right. Health hurts.
Health hurts.
And this is one step closer to heaven.
Also, you'll never get a sick day, even though you're 8.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah. I did also pitch Nerds Cluster format.
Yeah.
Where
that feels like more achievable, like, sorry. go
No,
ahead.
please.
Like putting the pill, like, in something else.
Right, like how you hide it from a dog
Yeah.
in peanut butter.
Yeah,
Maybe I should just put my medicine in peanut butter. Maybe that's...
Yeah, maybe.
We've got gummy vitamins at home.
Reheat nachos. That's a phrase people have been saying.
Yeah.
Something weirdly that my mom I used to get strep a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
And something my mom would weirdly do for me, because she's not very nice, but she would let me, like, because the penicillin tastes so bad and you have to chew it, and so she would let me have one Dove chocolate after. I would take my penicillin and then have one Dove chocolate.
And would you read your message on the inside?
Yeah, and then I'd be like, strep again.
Then you would take your tissue from your hacking cough to your eye
Why
to
do I
wipe your
still
one
have
beautiful
strep?
tear. Right.
Yeah.
So you were in San Francisco. I was for a time in up north Wisconsin. We've been ships in the night recently. But travel girls, my goodness.
It's hard.
It's hard.
It's really hard. The older I get, the more I can't do that.
It is kind of hard though.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I need a down day.
Yeah, literally. And I don't think I didn't have one. I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
You hop right back into the hamster wheel of it all. I was in Minocqua, Wisconsin.
Yes.
And my main thing I want to share about up north, and I do want to emphasize the nomenclature up north.
Okay.
You do not say upstate Wisconsin.
Okay.
That's a New York convention. In Wisconsin, you're up north.
Okay.
Okay. So we were in Minocqua, which is like lakey and beautiful and a big summer enclave.
Okay.
Like people from Milwaukee, maybe even Chicago, but like they must be like cracked in the head because
Yeah.
like I would not drive 6.5 hours from Chicago to Minocqua. From Milwaukee, it's like 4.5.
That is long. Yeah.
And then from Madison, I think it's 3. So it draws from the cities, but like a lot of people have lake cabins for the summer there. We were there, I was there on a bachelorette, and it's actually the second time I've been in Minocqua where the night out was predominated by other bachelor and bachelorette parties.
Really?
I don't know if it's like the Nashville of the Midwest or what,
Yeah.
but like it draws bachelor and bachelorette crowds. So there were multiple parties it overlapped with when we did a bar crawl on Saturday night in downtown Minocqua, downtown.
That's fun.
It was kind of fun, but here's the thing. Because it's up north Wisconsin, average age of the groom, what would you guess?
Oof.
There were two bachelor parties we ran into. Guess how old each groom was?
I want to say 25, but that even feels maybe too old.
Too old. You're right. Your instinct is correct. That's too old.
23?
24 and 21. Yeah.
21?
Yeah. And when I was there in the winter and we were out and ran into a bachelor party, yeah, early 20s.
What?
These are groomed.
They're being groomed.
The grooms are groomed by other children. The children are grooming each
Groom
other.
on groom crime.
Yeah. Really young.
That's
To make you,
crazy.
yeah. And, you're just kind of like mixing it up. So, like, okay, I guess we'll just talk to these guys. But at some point, I, glutton for punishment, go, how old do you think I am? And I got early 30s, which is so mean because I'm literally 30.
Yeah, it's worse than 30 flat.
And I think it was kind of maybe reactionary to like how my jaw had kind of dropped at hearing the age of their party.
Yeah.
But I was like, hey, fuck you. I've worked so hard on skincare.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then actually I think I went so hard, like, wow, really? Really? That I allowed a good 15 minutes of 20-year-olds being like, no, but like you look so good for your age. Like I just like was like and more.
Keep it coming,
and what else
boys.
do you have to say? Yeah, so that was good. But we were celebrating Corinne. She was like a really cool and very fun and stylish bride.
Aww.
We, how typically there will be like a theme dress up
Yes.
night. We did a biker gang kind of dress theme, because she's marrying a motorcyclist.
You can give the person who came up with that credit if you want.
It was you.
Yeah.
It was you. Yeah, biker gang went well, but your idea almost wasn't chosen because people worried it would be
too groom centric.
No, that we're kind of like making fun of the local culture. And we did go to a supper club in our biker regalia, and it did feel like nobody was like, oh, that's a costume, but maybe they were.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it definitely, like, was tonally very, like, it's like how when you go to Nashville, you dress in cowboy stuff sometimes.
Right, yeah.
So I think it actually really
Oh,
flew.
okay, good.
But yeah, that was one of
People
the
were like,
concerns.
did the people engage with it? Were they like,
No, people didn't really think we were dressed up for a reason.
oh,
So there you have it.
that's kind of fun. They probably thought you guys were like hardos.
At least nobody asked me why I was dressed that way.
I guess you're pulling it off.
We're probably like Bret Michaels over there. I don't know.
I think your look was really cool. Yeah, she did like a bandana.
A bandana. It came off at a certain point because
Yeah.
it's a lot to
You
wear.
have
And
to.
you know I love a hat. But
Yeah.
sometimes an accessory on your head feels like a burden.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, it slips too. you know?
Slips. Totally slips.
You
But then we finally did reconnect at a really fun
A perfect event.
event hosted by Jupes.
It was so great.
Yeah.
Jupes, so she, in her building, has this, like, courtyard, and you can, no one really seems to use it, but Jupes, I feel like you kind of, like, you use it to its full potential, and she hosted a hibachi party.
Backyard hibachi.
It was, she hired a hibachi, I feel like I'm saying it, like, hibachi. She hired a hibachi chef to, like, do hibachi.
Chop it up.
Yeah. It was so fun.
It was
we
so
got to,
fucking
we got to
fun.
pick our proteins.
Uh-huh.
I did surf and turf, steak
So
and
did
shrimp.
I.
That was, I think,
Or same order.
yeah, I think that's also, it was the best choice.
It was.
Yeah.
I was.
If you can do the turf, or the surf, which Jupes can, because she's allergic to shrimp,
Right.
shellfish.
My head was turned by the scallop option.
Wait, but that was extra, right?
Was it?
No?
It was not
The
extra,
scallops
which is
were
crazy.
That is crazy.
But I did kind of socialize it on The Bachelorette when I had to make my protein selections. You have
Yeah.
to do that in advance.
Yeah, of course.
And I was like, scallops? And everyone was like, hey, gross girl, you shouldn't do that.
Why?
I think their take was like, it's hard enough to cook a scallop on a pan, let alone
Well, he's professionally trained.
burning onions and sake squirting on
It's
the
nice
side.
that they thought about him.
It really, yeah. Yeah. And I don't think AK would appreciate that.
Yeah, his name was AK.
I think, was it just Ashley who did scallops?
I think so.
No.
Oh.
Alex and Nicole both did scallops as well, so you were surrounded by scallops.
Really?
On all sides.
And when you were kind of doing the wrap up and seeing what people had left on their plates, were the scallops?
There was not a scallop to be seen.
Shut up. We should have done scallops.
I liked the shrimp, to be honest.
I loved the shrimp.
Yeah.
I might have switched to a surf and surf.
Well, you love
You
fish.
know I'm a freak
yeah.
for fish.
Yeah, you're like a bear.
But I. Yeah, happy Pride. I had to get some steak though because Jupes very generously extended the invite to 3 dogs.
Yeah.
And there were 3 dogs in attendance, one of them being Hector, and he got 3 pieces of steak.
Did he really?
He did.
That was very sweet of you.
He was very delighted. But I had to like pay it off because all day long I'd been telling him, we are going to hibachi.
Yeah, he has to know. He has to feel hibachi in his bones.
Because all day long he's thinking, I'm going to hibachi?
What's hibachi?
And so now he knows. that's
Hibachi is
hibachi.
steak, baby.
Yeah. And getting sexually aggressed by another dog.
Yeah.
We love you, Lucci.
Lucci was there to fuck. Lucci was trying to hook up at hibachi.
He was.
He was looking for some fresh tail, and
Yeah.
Hector, he loved Hector.
Oh, yeah, that loose little body. Love that.
He like AK threw zucchini at all of us to catch. I didn't catch any of it, but like other people's zucchini kept like ending up on my plate, so I had like 7 pieces of zucchini around me.
You
Gave
were
them-
eating other people's rebound zucchini?
I know, I gave them all to Bruno, and Bruno.
Oh, really
Bruno
nice.
was like,
Bruno's a dog.
yeah, Bruno, and he's also right there.
There's a good picture that we should post of Jupes with all 3 dogs. She
Yeah.
was like the madam of the
Yes.
night, and the dogs were flocking to her.
Yes, because she also cares for them all at times.
They love her
Yeah,
so much.
Hector loves.
Oh, he
Jupes.
loses his
Yeah.
freaking mind when he sees
Yeah.
her.
It's very
She's
cute.
made a large impact on him. Yeah.
And now with hibachi, like
Hibachi.
He's gonna love her even more.
I know. He does associate her with hibachi. Since you mentioned the zucchini, I guess I will just say I was one of the few to catch it on first try.
Yeah, you were.
Ashley turned to me and she said, "It's so fun to learn new things about your friends."
That's cute.
Yeah.
That's so true.
It's really nice.
I was like,
okay, and I do, so for listeners, Siege just kind of closed her eyes and did like a guppy mouth, like gasping for air.
yeah.
And I will say it was a real binary and a telling one at that. The people who kept their eyes open
Yeah.
to receive either like a squirt gun of sake or a flip of zucchini
Yeah.
versus those whose other approach was to like clamp your eyes shut and pray. And I will say, people who close their eyes for the sake, I was like, I don't know if I'd do that out of the house. It just looked so submissive.
You looked really
and
vulnerable. Yeah. I'm thinking specifically about Jay right now because he was doing it like, but he also looked so peaceful. Like, he had his eyes closed, but he also was doing, like, one paw up. So he was, like, while he was getting shot with sake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so great for you, not for me. After watching it, I was like, keep your eyes open for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just how I felt.
I think I was, like, blinking really aggressively. Like, I was, like...
Yeah, no, same.
Yeah. Or I might have had my eyes closed. I don't know.
And maybe this is why I have styes. I keep my eyes open when they should be closed.
Maybe.
But that's hard to say.
Well, what have you been up to? What have you been watching and reading? Yeah.
I read a book that I really liked.
Tell me about it.
It's called Sandwich by Catherine Newman.
Okay.
Really, I just kind of wanted to say, ooh, I like it so much.
Yeah.
It was one of those books where, like Callie picked me up from the airport in Wisconsin, and I was like, I was reading a book on the plane I really liked. And she's like, oh, what was it? And as soon as I said the name, she was like, I loved that.
Really?
Yeah, it was one of those books I just, like, wanted to immediately recommend to people. Catherine Newman, I had never read anything by her. She did have another, like, New York Times bestseller. The name's not coming to me right now, but she had a lot of, like, really swaggy book jacket endorsements. Ooh. Like, she had a Donna Tartt. Okay. She might have had an Anne Patchett. Like, the girls were...
Okay, she's contemporary fiction legit.
She had the literary fiction girls locking arms in favor. They said, Red Rover, Red Rover.
Is she young?
Catherine Newman come over.
Sorry, the name seems young to me, but...
Is it because she has the same name as an actress, Catherine Newman?
Is that an actress?
I think so. The blonde girl in, like, Blockers.
Oh.
Isn't that her name?
Maybe.
It might not be.
I don't know. Don't know anything. Know. Yeah.
It's impossible to say. Sometimes we'll do, we haven't done this in a minute, but, like, sometimes we'll just agree, like, it's a no Google dinner. So, like, whatever we would typically look up, it's just like,
no.
We'll just speculate.
Just whatever.
And it's unfortunate we're bringing that energy to the pod. But here we are. We All Want Impossible Things was Catherine Newman's first. And I think she has since kind of gotten that carte blanche to kind of do what she wants, because she's established herself as a real voice of the genre, of the category. But basically the book it's from the perspective of a mother, but she's also a daughter, and that's actually the title. That
is usually how it works, which is crazy. Yeah, that is crazy.
I know. So that the title Sandwich is like that in between where you are like in your mid to late 40s, you got adultish children and aging-ish parents, and you're sandwiched between these two kind of like extreme age identities or demographics, and you're kind of navigating the two, accountable for both. Okay. And I really liked, so you're just like in this protagonist's head the whole time, and it is like a super like kind of claustrophobic but like very cerebral book. It's very like most of the plot is how she's feeling about minutia, really. Just like it's all contained in a week they spend on the Cape. They do a family
in
vacation.
Sandwich?
Yes.
Okay. Oh
no.
Wait.
I was like, yeah, we're still talking about the book Sandwich, but I think
I'm in the town.
Is Sandwich, Massachusetts a place?
I think so.
Cool.
But then you just described Sandwich the concept, but maybe it's both.
I don't think it's sandwiched the
Okay,
place. I
okay,
think they
cool.
would have said that at some
Yeah,
point.
that seems right. Yeah. Okay.
Unless that was like the wink, the
Implicit.
whole
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
and
That was
I
Santa
got
Claus
my
winking.
face. That was Santa Claus winking. Yeah. No, they're like just yeah. So they spend this week at the Cape every year, and the mom is like, the protagonist is like, I put so much pressure on this week because it is this window I can reliably have with my adult children who are otherwise out of my grasp, even
Yeah.
though like they're all like care about and think about. And then my parents will come in for like 2 days of that week, and that's really all I can bear. But like I still feel like so much
Yeah.
for these people. And that's really it. Like I feel so much for these people, and that's, I'd say, the thesis of the book.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, like it deals in like how, I don't know, I guess like how family can feel so much, even though on surface it's like you're just all there hanging out together. And that's actually like a cool part of the book too. So a large part of what the protagonist is processing in the muchness of how much she feels for her children and her parents. It's also the grief of like what's not there. And she had 2 pregnancies she lost, one by choice, the next not.
Okay.
And it's like that grief. It's interesting because like the whole time she's like a really compelling character, because it feels very like autobiographical for the author. I don't know if I'm projecting that onto her, but like this person is a writer, and I think we've talked previously about how like writers writing writers, it's always a little bit like, okay,
Yeah.
like you did no research, you're just pulling
Yeah.
from the old dome.
She seems really compelling.
But yeah, like they are, but then the results are hard to argue
Yeah,
with too,
yeah,
because
yeah.
they're really great characters
yeah.
because they're so known. But in this case, yeah, the protagonist is like a writer, and she is like super progressive and super like just like funny and witty in a way that like a master of the humanities
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
You know? Anyway, it's interesting because she feels a lot of regret about her own abortion, despite having a like
Net positive.
right. That this is, she was like, I think it is an essential and good choice. For me, it was not.
That's interesting, on like a perspective we probably don't hear enough.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not enough. You know, it's a good
It's
perspective
just
to hear.
yeah. And I was like, oh, but she even like addresses it pretty unflinchingly, because you're like nervous reading any kind of perspective on abortion coming from a woman, especially when it's like regretful
Yeah.
or shameful. You're like, oh, don't do this. But she actually faces that really craftily, I think.
Yeah.
And is like, no, like it's okay too. You can be very supportive.
That's part of being pro-abortion, I think, is like
Yes.
being supportive of women having the opportunity to regret it,
Yes.
even.
Yeah. And the abortion she does have in the book, it's like she has 2 really young kids. One is like an infant, and then they get like surprise pregnant, and she's like, I don't know if I can do this. And she terminates the pregnancy but tells her husband it was a miscarriage, because she feels so much like internal
Yeah.
conflict about it. And then she tries so hard to get pregnant again, because immediately it just like metabolizes as shame.
Yeah.
She's like, why? Like, but it was an interesting through line in like the total story, because like this muchness that she experiences, and this is like, she's also explicitly like, yeah, I have mental illness. Like I'm so anxious all the time.
Yeah.
I'm catastrophizing constantly. But it's like the muchness that like defines her whole life, like was what scared her into making that decision. And it feels like the arc is
I
like
see.
leaning in on it rather than being defined or limited by it.
Yeah.
Like this is, if here I am at 45 dealing with the full spectrum of my family's humanity, and I still feel this much, like it's not going anywhere. I'm like, I better just
Yeah.
embrace it, because it is what it. But
Yeah.
like the menopause of it all.
Oh,
she looks
man.
at that. It's oof. And like it's an interesting portrait of marriage through menopause too, where her husband's like, yeah, like, hey, hottie, still love
Yeah.
you. She's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. I'm so overstimulated right now
Exactly.
by my own heat.
And
I
then she'll
imagine.
like lash out at him and then be like, so you're gonna leave me?
Oh my
He's
god,
like,
that's so funny.
nobody, but well, hey.
Can I, like, talk to you?
Yeah, sorry, I feel like I just, like, told you the book rather than telling you what I liked about it.
Oh, no, I think you did a great job. And I would still read it. Like,
I really liked it.
Yeah.
I laughed out loud, like,
oh, I love that.
a lot. Yeah.
Oh my god, that is so unfortunately rare for me in a
Totally.
book. Yeah.
And it's not branded as, like, a comedy.
Yeah.
It's just, like, really smart literary fiction where I laughed out loud a lot.
Those are the smartest, or the funniest books, I feel like, when just, like, smart people go off.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It was very good.
I love it.
Yeah. What have you been reading?
So I finally finished, I'm currently reading the new Carly Fortune.
Okay,
and
yes.
I finally finished I have so much stuff in my chair here. I finally finished my reread of Beach Read, so I'm ready to do
Let's
kind of
fucking go.
a download on that. I will say, like, my overall takeaway is it still hits so hard.
Yep.
I previously on Goodreads had given it a 4-star rating.
You went back and bumped it up?
I'm ready to amend that to a 5-star.
Whoa.
For me, this is a 5-star romance novel.
Wow.
Just like, I really don't have notes. I think it does everything so well.
Yeah.
I love, like, it's enemies to lovers, obviously, but there is, and we talk about this all the time, there is that, like, they had something in college, and that is so important to the plot. It is so important.
Yeah.
And I think it's important how unfinished that business was. Like, I don't think I think when they, I can't remember. I think the encounter they have in college is just like a dance floor. Like, it's like no touching, but getting like really close to touching.
Right.
It's like edging.
Right.
And so then
They are locked in, only see each other on a
and
crowded
like
dance floor.
also there's the aspect of, like, you learn throughout the book that he broke up with his girlfriend, like, when he saw her at the party.
Like, he was...
Yeah. It really has, like, all the like, it's like, and I hate AI, but it's like, if AI, like, if I said, like, make the book that Claire Grant, like, has everything I would love, it really has everything.
It couldn't, but Emily Henry can.
Emily, exactly. And that's why I hate ChatGPT.
That sounded like Jacques.
Yeah, that sounded crazy. That's why I hate ChatGPT. But yeah, there's like that dance floor moment that gets called back a lot of times. And I think that another thing that's really important is that they have like misperceptions of each other that get like fleshed out over time, where she thinks that he hated her in college, but it's really that, like, because they were in all of this, and it's the same thing of like a book about two writers,
yeah,
but it's really well done because she's a writer herself, but like they were both in the same like writing classes in college, and she thought that he hated her, but really it's that like he respected her. Ooh. And like also he thought she hated him because she wouldn't like talk to him. And then there's a reveal of like in college he was obsessed with her so much so that his best friend was like, you gotta move on, dude.
Whoa, I forgot that.
I know there's so many things that I forgot
detail.
that like it was nice to reread about like things that I like. What else to say? Oh, I made some highlights. I think like I've talked about how in my book I want it to be like grumpy as opposed to grumpy sunshine.
Yeah.
And I think this is a grumpy
I think so too.
book. There's even a line that says, he was a grump, but so was I.
Yeah.
And I think it gives you two really like high dimension, like very dimensional characters, which is nice. I feel like I'm repeating a lot of stuff I've said, but like there's I think like the whole weaving in of her dad's affair is really interesting.
Totally, yes.
And how she has this house is like really interesting.
That is the kind of depth. Like, Emily covers a lot of ground.
Yeah, she really does.
In these books. And I do love that nuance of like, because it like, even that is so knowledgeable about your audience. Because like, it's like you see someone with a house in your late 20s, early 30s, and they're like, how do they fucking do this?
Yeah, and it's like, don't worry, someone died.
Right. I will tell you how she has the lake house.
Yeah, and she does have to sell it because she can't even afford to have a house that was gifted to her.
But she then gets to shack up at another lake house.
Which is, best case scenario,
Love
really. You get all the money for a house and then a free one. Yeah, and there's like this element of him being obsessed with her that is like really important to me. Like I think this is when they like first kiss, or like they're about to kiss, I think, and he says, I lied, he whispered against my ear. I have read your books. Hot.
That's really
someone reading, and I love that she hasn't read his books. Like,
Right.
she's like,
Like,
fuck
that's for
this
real.
guy. But he's like, no, I've read all of your
Like, I'm
romance
obsessed
books.
with you. Are
Yeah.
you kidding me?
Yeah.
Also,
I like that, like, that discrepancy. I think that's
Yeah.
important for me.
And what a good reveal. Like, what a hot
Yeah,
way to say
yes,
it.
yes.
Ooh.
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 Wait, I'm gonna go to my highlights again. I also think, like, when you have two people who are doing the same thing, it, like, it kind of invokes that thing that I was talking about with You've Got Mail, where it's, like, they have the same tastes in things, and it might, like, play out
Oh, yeah.
in different... Actually, I think these stories are pretty similar. Like, it plays out in different ways where, like, she's this romance writer that like, they're two very different genres, and they kind of, like, think less of each other because of it, but then ultimately they actually have, like, the same taste and stuff.
Right.
And there's this one interaction that I really liked.
That's such a good point.
Thank you.
I do feel like we just keep seeking out Pride and Prejudice in different forms.
Ultimately, yeah. I think that is that's all I want. Is just give me Pride and Prejudice with a different spin.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a part where she says, like, okay, they're like flirting. Also, I think the flirting is very well done in this.
Okay.
This kind of leads into our exercise, but, like, I think the dialogue in this is pretty good. For a romance novel, I will say, like, dialogue, it's hard to find good dialogue. But she says, finally I said something we agree on, and then he says, I bet we agree on a lot. And then she says, such as, and he said, all the important stuff, which I feel like is a nice, I think that has to be the ethos of a good couple for me.
Totally. Yep.
I think that's might be my thing. You
Yes.
know, we agree on a lot.
All the important stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's like when couples do, like, pre-Cana.
Yeah, you have to have.
And I'm like, what? Like, first of all, I don't agree with what they're filtering for in
Yeah, that's
pre-Cana.
true.
But, like, if there were an agnostic pre-Cana, like, we know what would go on it. And, like, don't marry anyone who doesn't
share your
Yeah.
your 73 questions with Vogue or whatever. Who doesn't answer the same way.
The classic non-denominational pre-Cana, 73 questions of Vogue.
Pre-Cana for atheists. But yeah, that's kind of all. I will just say it's just like, it's reaffirmed my belief that this is a perfect romance novel.
It really is so good. Now I want to reread it.
Yeah, that was the thing, I thoroughly enjoyed rereading it too. I was just like, I think, like, the romance portion, like, it's like, you just want more a little bit, I think, which is a good note for me. Like, because I think we've always said she's, like, kind of the hallmark of, like, how much smut should be in a book.
Yeah.
But I was a little bit, like, itching for more.
And that is different. That diverges from my reread of Book Lovers.
Yeah.
Where I was like, actually, perfect amount, which was quite little, of smut, because I cared about the characters so much. It was almost like, now you're my friends and I don't want to see you.
Yeah,
back. But no, I actually think it might be that, like, looking back on my reads of Book Lovers versus Beach Read. Book Lovers, it's like I started to really care about their, like, future together.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the conflict too was like, we can't make this work, like, in the long term with our families and like these, like, the friction, the conflict was around, like, things that really would jeopardize their long term.
Yeah.
So then I started rooting for them as, like, married people at 80 rather than, like, immediate, like, love interests for each other. Whereas I think Beach Read stays well grounded in its, like,
world.
And its time span, where you're not thinking about, like, you want them to end up together, but mostly you want them to, like, be everything to each other right now.
I want them to bone.
Yeah.
And I think I just needed, like, one more boning, maybe. Oh, sorry. Or, like, maybe they have this, like, and I think this is a really great scene. They have their first, like, make out at the drive-in. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I really can't say enough about how good the fun and games are. I think the only thing I would have added is a few more
a little bit more
romps.
fun for scenes.
Right. Yeah, and for them too, you know. Because I think there's this long period where they're like, we can't, and we're not. And I think I could have used a little bit more. No, it definitely, like, I was like, get me to the next one.
Yeah.
But I think, like, a little taste of that a little bit
Right.
more of that might have been nice.
And I guess I don't know why they were holding out on each other.
Well, it's because, like, he thinks he'll break her, and, like, she
Oh.
is like, he isn't taking this seriously, so I shouldn't.
Okay, got it.
I think. Now I'm, like,
No, yeah.
second
That's
guessing
fine.
myself, but, and I think yeah, and he's also like, I'm so in love with her, so, like, maybe I shouldn't
Oh, okay.
just, like,
I can't
jump
squander
into this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my, I do feel like it's, like, good context as I continue to write.
For sure, yeah.
That this is, to me, the best book ever.
The North Star, yeah.
Yeah. And then that's it. I'm reading the new Carly Fortune. I do have some criticisms about that, but I'm gonna
Ooh. Okay, yeah. Finish it and then let's discuss.
I'm gonna hold off on it for now.
Okay,
Yeah.
'cause I'm very intrigued.
Yeah. But I am enjoying it. Like, again, she's another author where, like, I'll eat it up every
I'll
time.
gobble it, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like a little bit. I've got some things to say.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah. And then do you
And then to you.
do you want to talk about
The only other thing it's not a reading thing, but a watch. I'm back on my TV
Yeah.
game. It was the first limited series I binged in so long. I was like, I love TV.
Yeah, TV's great.
TV's great. I, on your recommendation, watched Sirens,
Yes.
which you've already talked about on the pod. And the only thing I have to add to the discourse
Okay.
around Sirens, am I allowed to spoil it?
I think so.
I'll leave.
Oh, right, because Juice is, like, almost done with
That
it.
sucks.
Yeah.
I like, obviously the dynamic between the sisters and then the boss is interesting and becomes way more so when you get to the end. Like,
Yes.
it feels like a lot of what happens, period, happens in the final episode.
I agree. Yeah.
And so I have some notes on pacing. Like,
Yeah.
I got carried through episode, I don't know, is it 8 total
I think
episodes,
so,
I think?
yeah.
So 1 through 7, you got me seated because beautiful setting and divas. Like,
Right. Right, yeah.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
Even though
you're
not
so
a lot
right.
was happening. Or, like, maybe even the plot wasn't that compelling. But then, episode 8, I'm expected to go on a roller coaster.
Yeah, a lot happens. Yeah, you're right.
A lot, and it actually kind of stretched the limits of my disbelief.
Yes.
Just by virtue of pacing. Like, I think even if, like, the same things had happened, but just, like, maybe spread out on the final 3 episodes, I would have been more ready to accept them.
I agree, yeah.
But, like, by episode 8, I was like, wait, what?
I think the point of it all being in the last episode, though, is supposed to be like, look how quickly a man will turn on you.
The reason it stretched my suspension of disbelief is because, like, I didn't believe a woman would. Like, it
Yeah.
felt like women doing really different things than they had been doing for the whole time I'd known them.
Yeah.
And that felt a little bit
Ooh, interesting.
volatile.
But don't you think, like, I do think the sister is supposed to be the one who turns on, I don't know any of their names.
Julianne Moore.
Julianne
Moore.
Yeah. I think, like, she is kind of painted as, like, not a good person.
Yeah.
So I didn't find it super unbelievable that she would turn on Julianne Moore the way she did, I guess.
Yeah. And spoiler, like, what I'm kind of picking at is the younger sister who's in the employ of Julianne Moore. Once her position and the whole life that it has given her is at risk because Julianne Moore thinks that this young assistant is now a threat to her marriage, Julianne Moore, like, she pulls the rug out, she fires the girl, and the girl is like, wait, the very reason I'm getting fired might be my only leverage here. She turns around and does, in fact, like, pursue or seduce the husband, who's the billionaire, who's, like, created this whole world of means around them. And she basically takes Julianne Moore's whole life and pulls the rug out from under her. And I get what you're saying, where she's, like, she's painted to be a bad character.
Yeah.
And you're reminded of that when she does get fired, when Julianne Moore fires her because she thinks, like, she's coming for her man, even though at the time the girl was not.
Yeah.
You're reminded, because you've, like, grown to empathize with the girl because she has such a loaded traumatic backstory, like, so much childhood drama.
True.
And you're getting that through her sister, Megan Fahey, who comes to kind of, like, rescue this young woman from what she believes is kind of a cult. But, like, you're kind of, like, empathizing with the girl because Megan Fahey shows you how much she cares about her and how worthy she still finds this young woman of, like, fighting for.
Yeah.
Like she's like, no, like, I gave up every personal interest in my own life to like make sure this girl was okay.
Yeah.
And she's been through unspeakable things. Like, of course she carries that with her, like whatever. But because Megan Fahey is like doggedly and relentlessly in her corner, you start to feel that way too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But then when Julianne Moore fires the girl and the entire staff starts dancing, they like pump that
Yeah.
and the whole staff is dancing throughout the property because they're like, the witch is dead.
Yeah.
You're reminded, oh no, like I have been empathizing with a woman who's like a little fucking tyrant in the
Yeah.
model of Julianne Moore, a billionaire's wife. Like, she's not a nice girl.
Yeah.
She's an active antagonist to everyone she perceives as beneath her.
Right.
And that's a problem. And that, okay, sorry for empathizing. But no, I still kind of thought like it was a bit too much of a switch up for me.
I see that.
I get it from the angle of like a cornered animal is going to
Yeah.
scratch through anything. And that felt like what it was when they have her running on the beach, like can't catch her breath because she like is worried about having to go back with her dad, who was like a large source of the trauma.
Yeah.
And you see her like, I'll do anything in her eyes kind of thing. But still, I'm like, I don't know. She would bite like Julianne Moore was her
Well, I think
blueprint.
that, I don't know why I'm like, I
Yeah.
think like, yeah, Julianne Moore was her blueprint, which I think is why it almost makes
Right.
it easy for her to switch up on it, because it's like, she thought that this woman was her best friend, and then
Yeah.
I think she does realize, like, ultimately, like, oh, I am her employee.
Yeah.
And so I think that it makes it easier for her to, like, switch up on her.
Yeah.
I guess.
There's also that poignant conversation, like just before Julianne Moore starts to think of this young girl as like a threat to her marriage, she's like, has this very honest conversation where you see that they actually are best friends. Like, they really do love each other. And in this conversation, Julianne Moore's like, don't, because the girl's considering a proposal from another billionaire in the community,
Right.
a guy twice her age, whatever. And she's like, don't do this. Like, I'll promote you to head of the whatever. But she says straight up, you don't want my life, which is what you'd have with this other guy, because I'm an employee too. Like, she literally uses that language. She's like, I work for him.
True.
And if I step out of line, I'm fired. And that was
What happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And probably what started to form the plan as well.
Yeah.
But, like, it is kind of like she chooses to stay working for the machine.
The company. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I did forget about, like, the fact that Julianne Moore does, like, they have that moment of her earnest friendship before she fires her.
Which, evil. And then I almost didn't believe it of Julianne Moore's character. Like,
Yeah, I think that, to me, is the kind of unbelievable thing.
yeah.
Of, like, if she really is this good friend to her, why would she so quickly fire her like that?
And, like, there's that moment between her and her husband, who's Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, who does a lot for me in this, unsurprisingly.
I know. He really did.
Yeah.
And I did not find at all attractive in his younger years.
Oh, yeah, me neither.
He's grown into something much more
Yeah.
savory.
Yes, and when he's in that house, I said, yep, I would do it too.
I also love his TikToks with his wife, Kira Sedgwick.
Oh, I haven't seen them.
They're so cute. They, like,
Okay.
live on a ranch together and are just darling. They, like, often sing songs together.
Oh, lovely.
Okay, so all that said, sorry, I didn't mean to wax so poetic on sirens, but the one thing that kind of stuck with me, it's like the Santa's wink of it all.
Yeah.
I could not tell how heavily they were playing into, like, the fantastic, because, like, obviously the name of the show is Sirens, and, like, one of the meanings behind it is it was the code that the sisters shared when things were really, really bad. They would text each other the word sirens, and that meant, like, drop everything and help me. And the whole reason that Megan Fahey goes to find her younger sisters, because she's been texting sirens to her younger sister with no response. So she's like, my sister would always answer sirens. So maybe that is kind of like, yeah, this girl was irredeemable from the jump, like, once we learned what sirens meant. But then the other meaning of sirens is, like, the lady who sings the sailors into the cliffs.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm an idiot.
No, No, it's literally in the title, like the title credits when they do the the music, and then
Again, I'm always on my phone.
The iconography was very mermaid, by which I mean sirens. Yeah, so that felt like an element of the fantastic that they kept dabbling in. Like, they literally had a different, like, cinematic treatment for it. They'd go really close in on Julianne Moore when she was being, like, so for the first, like, 80% of the series, the limited series, you see her influencing or, like, you know, like, I guess the siren thing is, like, calling someone to their detriment, to even their demise. So whenever she's influencing the younger sister who works for her, it'll get this treatment like a kind of cloudy white veil over it, and she's like speaking directly to the sister, and then it'll flip back to the sister, and she's got the same kind of like really close in filming with the same like white kind of haze around her, and she's responding. Did we
You're
watch
so
the same
smart.
show?
Claire, you didn't pick up on that?
No!
Like,
I think I sometimes watch shows like podcasts. Like, I just, like, have them, and I'm, like, doing audio.
And then you see at the final episode, that's the young sister when she decides she's going to take her man. She goes up on the cliff. She then goes down to the beach. He's drawn out after her.
Oh, yeah,
and then you
yeah.
see when he catches up to her, she goes, "Hey," and it's in that like really close filming with the white kind of mist around her.
Interesting.
Now she's a siren.
Wow, you're so visual.
Well, I was like, is this Santa Claus? Like,
right.
I was,
it was
like,
a little
is there a magical realism thing
interesting.
happening
Okay.
in this show? Made me feel better about what I'm dabbling with in my book.
Yeah, right, with your own magical realism.
Yeah, because it clearly wasn't a show that was meant to be like fantasy, but there was that element where you're meant to like kind of wonder, like,
It was like a little campy.
yes,
Yeah.
is there something
Supernatural
human going on here?
Yeah. I thought, I was going to say, like, I feel like there were a couple, like, weird things that were unexplained, but not in, like, a magical realism way, but, like, the part where Megan Fahey licks.
Oh, well, she's just a sex addict.
You thought that's what it was?
Yeah.
I thought it was, like, she's a licker. Because she was like, I just do that sometimes. I was like, lick people?
No.
But it was, like, a sexual deviant way?
Yeah. I think,
Okay.
like, she's meant to she's set up as, like, she's an alcoholic, and then now that she's sober, she has other inappropriate kind of, like, addiction manifestations, one of which is sex.
See, I thought all of that stuff was a little heavy-handed, where it was like,
I thought so too.
Like her fucking the guy on the boat.
Yeah.
Like, we get it.
It was
she
a lot.
likes sex. We get it. I think that's part of it, that she uses her like it's her sort of a siren thing for her,
Yes.
where she uses her like sexuality to like get things.
Well, and she's set up as a siren with the guy from Home who follows her there, taking care of her
True,
dad.
yeah.
When she is like, I hate you, go drown in the sea. He literally does walk into the sea.
True, yeah.
But he's like, as I'm being pulled in the riptide, I'm thinking, you're the riptide. Like, why am I even fucking here? Why do I follow you places?
Yeah.
But also, I think her kind of like, her sex stuff is explained a little bit through their relationship when she turns around to him and she says, stop following me. Like, you're what I do when I want to hate myself.
Yeah. Because it's like an addiction for her.
I think so.
Yeah.
But the younger sister, also before she then finally seduces the billionaire husband and then gets that like Julianne Moore treatment, the visual thing, you see her like, I think all three women are set up as sirens because the first neighbor billionaire to propose to her falls off a cliff.
Yeah.
And then when you see him in the hospital afterward, he's going, she pushed me. And she was very far from him. But he's like, no, she had wings.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah.
so
It's
there's
the
that
magical realism.
supernatural. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Wow. I
Oh,
need to
sirens.
clock in a little bit more at the TV.
Factory.
Yeah, at the old TV factory.
Well, okay. You have been doing a close study of some television and some books for our exercise today.
So our exercise for the week was to try to identify some pieces of dialogue that we find compelling, and like, you know, try to figure out what we like about them and how we can incorporate it into our own work. So Shall I begin? Do you want to go like back and forth like
That'd
we
be
do?
great. Yeah, you start.
So my first one, I was like trying to think. I think we've talked about this a lot. That I think like dialogue in movies and like TV is just better. Like I think by and large. So my first one is from a movie, and I was just like honestly trying to think about like my favorite movies, and I feel like this will be a surprise to no one that one of my favorite movies is When Harry Met Sally. So this is just an exchange between Harry and Sally, who are obviously the two love interests. And
they met, I hear.
Yeah, they do. And this is like a part, I feel like what I really like about the dialogue in that movie is they spend a lot of time like talking about how they are as people.
Yeah.
Like it's a very like I don't know what the word for it is, but I feel like that is something that like smart people do, I guess, is like just talk about like life and like personality and like social dynamics. And so that feels very real to me.
It's not gossip, it's that we're really smart and we're coming at it from an anthropological perspective.
Yes, I love that reframing. But also a lot of times they're just talking about themselves.
Yeah.
And like they're also very honest with each other about like the things they don't like in each other, which is like I think the whole premise of the movie is that they're like frenemies to lovers. So this is the part where Harry is like, he also does a lot about like talking about women, you know, which can be problematic, but it's also kind of like real.
It is true to life.
Yeah, like men are kind of like that.
Women.
Yeah, so he's saying like there are two kinds of women, high maintenance and low maintenance. Which one am I? You're the worst kind. You're high maintenance, but you think you're low maintenance. I don't see that. You don't see that? Waiter, I'll begin with a house salad, but I don't want the regular dressing. I'll have the balsamic vinegar and oil, but on the side. And the salmon with the mustard sauce, but I want the mustard sauce on the side. On the side is a very big thing for you. Well, I just want it the way I want it. I know, high maintenance. That's good. I don't know. I just like that they're like very observant about each other, and it's not necessarily positive, which I also like. Like I think that's like, this is also like, I think all of mine are romance specific. No, two of them are. And I think that is, like, a nice, real romance of, like, here's the thing I hate about you.
But it is so romantic at its core, because here's the thing I notice about you.
Yes, hating is noticing.
Yes, literally.
Yeah.
It's really, and I love it because it's, like, I notice you, and it's, like, he still finds the joke in it, too, the humor in it. It's, like, on the side's a big thing.
Yeah. And it's not, like, said with disdain. It's just, like, this is who you are. Yeah. And, like, it's not, like, easy, but it's how you are, and that's all good. And I also think even the observation of, like, you think you're something that you're not is funny, too.
Totally.
And, like, kind of sweet. Because it's, like, he knows her so well that she would even, like, pretend not to be this thing.
Right.
Even though she is.
And even that is really sweet and, like, I think kind of, like, at odds with a lot of, like, bad heterosexual relationships where it's, like, the guy will be like, yeah, she's so low maintenance. It's like, no, this woman actually needs so much.
Yes.
It's just you don't serve those needs.
Like, yeah.
Like
I like that too.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, it's nice that he's like, no, you are high maintenance, but I still like it. I still like spending time with you.
Like, you're a person who requires a lot, actually, because I notice all these things about you.
Yeah.
Like, maybe even, like, stuff you don't notice about you.
Right, which is really, I think, always sweet when someone notices something about you that you don't even know yourself.
I just think anyone you date you'll perceive them as high maintenance because you care about meeting their needs.
That's
maybe.
True. Yeah.
Even that's kind of romantic as an undercurrent.
That is romantic. I like that.
He's thinking through it in, like, all the ways he should care for her.
Yeah, like taking notes almost. Yeah. Like, and I think I was also this reminds me, like, it comes to it comes around at the end of the movie when they do like those interviews at the end with, like, all these couples. It's like interspersed throughout the movie where they're doing, like, interviews with couples, and it ends with Harry and Sally being interviewed, and they start talking about their wedding cake, and they're like, and she's like, and then we had a very nice chocolate sauce on the side because it's very heavy, so, and the cake, and he starts chiming in where he's like, the coconut cake is very, like, it absorbs the chocolate sauce, but it really needs to be on the side. So it's like how he has, like,
cute,
and you can tell he's like, this is crazy, but, like, but it's he's cute. Part of it now, you know. So I thought that was well done.
Yeah, and the pace of it, the lightness.
I was gonna say the pacing is also really good. Like, yeah, I think, like, smart people are very quick like this and
Yeah.
like making these like observations. So I also really like the pacing as well.
But it still feels like real and human and not like
Yeah.
an Aaron Sorkin, like where it's the wittiest,
True.
most like nuanced wordplay you've ever heard delivered at the speed of light.
Or even like Gilmore Girls, which I do really love, but like that's like fantastical because no
Yeah.
one actually talks that way.
No, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that a lot. That's a good
Yeah,
example.
this I think is closer to reality for sure.
Same. I totally agreed. Even in its like curmudgeonliness.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so one of mine is romantic, one of mine is not. But mine actually are both drawn from film. Okay, so I went for something that when I first watched it, like broke my heart. Like
Yeah.
truly broke my heart. It's Fleabag. It's the scene everyone's thinking of. But I think the dialogue is so good for how sparing it is. And this isn't something you can like I think of it as relevant to writing because you're filling in so many of those gaps with interior stuff. Like you'll have dialogue and then you'll have like how this person's feeling or what they're doing. So it's like not that different from stage direction. Like I think of this scene, which I'll read in a second, but you all know what it is. But I think of this scene as largely being like quiet. There's a lot of negative
Yeah.
space that's
Ooh.
filled in with good acting.
Yeah.
But I think in a book it's just as relevant. Like your dialogue sometimes is spare, but like puts again a premium on the words you choose.
Yeah.
But then also like I think it's how writing works a lot of the time with
Yeah.
the negative spaces like expository or like whatever.
I really like that observation. Yeah.
Thanks. Okay. So it's Fleabag and the priest sitting on the park bench or the bus bench. Oh God, it's just awful. So she's saying, like, she's confronting, finally voicing her romantic feelings for this priest. Though
Yeah.
obviously the barrier to their being together is that he is a priest. So she goes, "It's God, isn't it?" "Yeah." "Damn." They both laugh. Then, "Damn. You know, the worst thing is that I fucking love you. I love you." "No, no, you don't. Let's just leave that out there for a second on its own. I love you." And then there's like a long pause in the actual scene and goes, "It'll pass."
Brutal. Sorry.
So then so much time, and then immediately they kind of pull out. She goes, "This bus is not magically coming." He goes, "I think I'll walk." "Okay. See you Sunday?" "I'm joking. You're never allowed in my church again." And then he laughs, and then there's a pause, and then he goes, "I love you too." And she goes, "Okay." And then he walks away, and then a fox comes by, and she just says, "He went that way." And it's just like, so I think what's actually really powerful about it is that the language is so plain. And like, I think that's actually a lot of what like Stephen King tried to tell us.
Yeah.
He's like, if you don't know how characters feel about what they're saying, then like you're not going to cover that gap through like dialogue attribution adverbs or like
Yeah.
like it should be so abundantly clear
Yeah.
who these people are and how they feel about each other that the words themselves like aren't like I love you because I am this or like
Yeah. It doesn't. Yeah.
like I think really effective dialogue is often just like super direct.
Yeah.
And like that's the most human too.
Yeah. Especially when you're like going through something painful. Like,
Oh my God, right.
brevity is kind of the only
Super
option.
staccato. Yeah. These people their hearts are breaking, so it has to
Yeah.
be like staccato, simple sentences.
Yeah.
Like my heart is falling out of my chest.
Yeah.
But
You kind of return to like how you and I don't talk. Of just like saying simple sentences.
Simple fucking sentence. Yes. But we've talked about like love ya.
Yeah.
Like I really
love
love how I love you is used so heavy-handedly because
Yeah.
it's like we've spent the whole season, 2 seasons really, right? This and the second.
Yeah.
Am I crazy? But like
he's only in the one. Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
But it takes her so much to say those words.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
and
yeah.
that it just kind of spills over in this scene. Like, the worst thing is I fucking love you. I love you. I love you. I think she says it 3 times.
Yeah.
Before it'll pass. Oof.
Yeah. That's
And then to have him turn around and
obviously.
say, "I love you."
Yeah. And I'm so glad we get that closure of like, because otherwise that's just shitty.
And it's also like, well, love you is nothing and bullshit and mean
Yeah.
even. I love you, used correctly, given its proper gravity.
Yeah.
Is that punch you need in the end. To
Yeah.
use it 3 times here, and I know like you're just hearing an isolated scene, so it doesn't like you don't get this, but like we earned these 3 I love yous. I like that the writing is so generous with it at this moment.
Right. I like that too.
She broke through this like immense thing in her own head and her own self-concept because she's dealt with so much shame and guilt and whatever, and she's letting herself just say it 3 times to this guy who she knows can't say it back, even though he does.
Yeah.
Which, thank God, really.
Yeah.
But then I also love, like, he went that way. Like,
yeah, I love how much, like, little bits of humor there are in that, too. Even with when he's, like, see you on Sunday. Like, that is how you, at least that's how I, like, diffuse situations. Like, that feels very real.
But even the pain and, like, you're never allowed in my church again.
Yeah, like, it's real. It's like, actually, please don't come.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just think, like, oh, God. Like, few words, even a lot of repetitive words, but, like, really right for how painful and climactic that moment in their relationship is.
Even also, like, I feel like it's a very real thing to be like, we sat here for all this time and we didn't even realize that the bus is 20 minutes away. That's a very real thing that happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh my God. I just like it. And I rewatched the episode and and I was like, fuck this show. It's so
fuck
the writing is so good though.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, what else you got?
Okay. My next one is it's like not really a romance book though it is like there's a romance in it, but this is I think a conversation between the main character Celine and her friend, but she is talking.
This is from The Idiot?
The Idiot, sorry, it's from The Idiot by Elif Batuman, and she is like, her friend is like, what did you bring your host family, because she's traveling to Hungary, and she says chocolate, and then the friend, chocolate, she sighed. It's hard to do this for a book. And then she says, I'm afraid I'll accidentally eat it all before I get there. I said, following the rule that you had to pretend to have this problem where you couldn't resist chocolate. So I actually was kind of thinking about the negative space. No, I don't think directly thinking about the negative space thing, but I think in books, like, where that translates is having this, like, self-awareness in, like an inner monologue next to the dialogue.
Exactly.
Where it's like we understand their motivations, or like, I don't know, maybe not in all dialogue, but I think in this case it's a good example of like you can add these inner monologues to help like make the dialogue funnier, even, because like this is just a normal exchange, but then when you add that extra sentence, it's like, oh, she's so funny and like self-aware. Like you get a good understanding of that.
I think that's such a good example.
So yeah, I really liked that.
I think like that's like what I like a lot about reading. Like you get what's said, and then you get to say what's not said too.
Right. Yeah.
Which like is often really fucking funny.
Yeah.
And like that interplay, you can kind of like tease it out in movies, like based on good acting, and like, but then it's so much interpretation.
And it's a lot of the unsaid, I think, like what you're saying. Like, I think you kind of have to use the negative space more a little bit in TV and movies.
But I love that. That's a really good example.
And I was also, I was just thinking about books that I really like, because both of mine I think are like authors who really understand like humanity. Yeah. And like their characters are very like cerebral and like observational, and so I think that's kind of what I like in dialogue, when there's like almost like a third party in the room with us, right? Who's like your mental illness. And
you're right. It makes me like believe the characters more too. The like overall narration is like. But I also like that example because romance is a trope heavy, formulaic genre. Yeah. And it's almost like such a nice inversion too, when you can say like there are just like lines that are said in romance. Like, like I don't know, nothing's coming to mind right now because it's like his jaw ticks, which is like expository. It's like you know, it's just like it's funny.
I'm trying to think of an example. Yeah,
I know, but like that, like I hope I don't eat all the chocolate.
Yeah,
he's like a romanticism. It's like
yeah. It's something you might say in it.
Right. It's one of those like trite little lines that's like so typical of that kind of character in a romance. But so like
in a romance, it'd be like, I can't kiss you. It's like a slippery slope or something. I don't know.
Right.
Does that
but
make
I
sense?
love the subversion of these like very typical trite lines that might
and even
fun.
like when you say something like this, like, I'm afraid I'll accidentally eat it all before I get there, like, I feel like that's something I would say, and I wouldn't even have that thought of, like, I have to pretend that I can't control myself around chocolate. But it is something you kind of just, like, subconsciously do.
Yes.
And so I think in books that's nice to have that, like, extra layer of, like, thought, I guess.
It's, like, really smart observation.
Yeah, which I think is just, like, maybe our kind of humor.
Yeah.
So, like, I could see us doing something like that, you know?
Fingers crossed. I hope I get
Well, yeah, God, I'm always like, here's a line from the best author ever, and I think I could do it.
No, same.
You look so pretty.
Literally,
Sorry.
Jukes has turned into a fucking princess before our very eyes. She's been getting ready for a gala, for the Tonys.
Yeah, she's literally getting ready for the Tonys.
Yeah.
And she looks so good.
She looks so good. Does that...
that satisfies mine. Yeah.
Okay, then my last one, I feel like I need to give real preface to. It's not romantic at all. It's from one of my favorite examples of writing in TV ever. It's Veep.
Oh, great.
And again, like, both of my examples, like, really great performances, and that does take it a long way, but I do think this is exceptionally good writing. I had thought of it when I was thinking of, like, things I like writing, examples of writing I really liked in Veep. I had thought of this as more of a monologue. There is some interplay.
Okay.
But I thought of it, like, through the lens of writing. It's like, sometimes you do want that big moment where your character is, like, doing kind of extended speech.
Yeah.
And then how do you make that feel real, first of all? Because people don't monologue all the time.
Yeah.
And, like, compelling throughout. Like, this person is a point they're making, whatever. I think... sometimes it's humor, but, like, basically I was like, it had stuck out in my memory as a good example of, like, unbroken dialogue for kind of a while that, like, slayed the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is, I will give a warning, vulgar.
Yay! Well, Veep has to be.
So it's Selena, who at the time, I think she's still the Veep, maybe making one of her runs for presidency.
One of her many.
Yeah. But she's cowing a congresswoman into doing what she wants. Okay, so Selena, you're playing a very dangerous game of chicken with the head fucking hen. Because if I don't win the White House, O'Brien is going to sink your stupid boats and you're going to look like a hairsprayed asshole in your 1980s Mother of the Bride dress. And if I do win, I will have my administration come to your shitty little district and shake it to death like a Guatemalan nanny. And then I'm going to have the IRS crawl so far up your husband's colon, he's going to wish the only thing they find is more cancer. And then the congresswoman goes, good God. She goes, so can I count on your vote? Or do I need to shove a box of White House M&Ms up your stretched out 6-baby vag? And then the congresswoman goes, you can count on my vote? Selena says, I think I want to hear an okie dokie, Annie Oakley. Okie dokie, Annie Oakley. Super duper trooper. Now get the fuck out of here, congresswoman. And I'm just like, this is so fucking funny. And Veep is, like, so good for, like, jokes, efficient jokes per word. Like,
JPM or whatever.
Oh my God, just, like, in the monologue we get hairsprayed asshole.
Yeah.
1980s Mother of the Bride. Shaken to death like a Guatemalan nanny. IRS crawl so far up your husband's colon, more cancer. It's like like 4 banger jokes in a pretty quick paragraph. And then I just love also the, like, brevity of the responses, and then asking for an okie dokie Annie Oakley is so good. And like, so I really liked it for, like, it's so real for, like, the condescension to, I assume, like, a Midwestern district. Like, okie dokie Annie Oakley, like the 6-babe stretched out vag thing. It's like,
that's something
such a funny and mean and vicious, like, caricature of how she perceives whatever fucking back roads hometown in the Midwest this woman comes from. I was just, like, so efficient, so fucking funny, and then, like, very, very in character. Like, it's so rooted in the Selena character.
In her voice.
Yeah, it's like no one else, I can't think of any other character in any fictional project I've ever seen.
You wouldn't find Aaron Sorkin having
even
the vice president saying that.
No, but, like, it is Sorkin levels of, like cleverness.
Yes, and like quantity of words.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also just think like specificity always makes jokes funnier.
Yeah.
Literally, like in all facets of life, like the more specific you can be, the better when it comes to jokes. And I think that like 1980s Mother of the Bride dress is so specific. Like
So
you see that dress.
Hairsprayed asshole
Yeah.
is even better for me.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
like 1980s Mother of the Bride dress, like very good, very specific. But then to like extrapolate that even further, like you know that pairs with a bouffant.
Yeah, yeah,
Your
true.
hairsprayed asshole
yeah.
is so funny.
Yeah. That is funny.
I just like how, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
Selena Meyer's a character I could place anywhere.
Yeah.
Like,
and she would still say shit like that.
and
yeah.
so identifiable.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
so like such a well rendered character.
I also think it's like important that to note that mean people are funny, which is what makes them so compelling. And I think like her being a really mean person who's also so funny is
Is right. I'm like, if you're gonna give someone kind of like a tirade where they're like speaking a paragraph, I think you do have to keep it so entertaining.
Yeah, yes, true. That's a good point.
And every new sentence I was like taken on a ride.
On a little journey.
Well, I guess on that note, on Hairsprayed Asshole.
Yeah.
What's the most romantic thing that happened to you this week?
So my week was like not so romantic because I was kind of just like in a hotel for 5 days.
And a lot of people think that's actually really romantic.
Yeah, it sometimes is not.
I actually, sorry. But I saw on Twitter, I think, like, so what is something that, like, people overly romanticize who've not experienced it, and it's work travel.
There's very little that's romantic about it.
Almost nothing.
Yeah. I was thinking, like, because I was traveling alone, they were like, can we upgrade you to a handicapped room? And I was like, oh, yeah. And they were like, is it okay that there's, like, a handle near the toilet? And I was like, I welcome it. Yeah. That actually sounds awesome.
Actually, for me, that does sound good.
Yeah.
Things get a little rough in there.
The bathroom was bigger. I was like, okay.
Sweet.
But yeah, I think mine was probably, I was in meetings all week, and like I wore one top one day and I got so many compliments.
Was it low cut?
What?
Was it low cut?
It was for like a work shirt, but that's not why. It was just a cute shirt. It was like a shirt I wouldn't necessarily. I was like, this is a little booby, but like whatever. It was like definitely like a work blouse, but just a little booby. You know how that sometimes is?
You know how that goes.
But everyone kept asking me where it was from, and I kept being like, girls, it's a Nuuly thing. And like, it was just so cute how many girlies are doing Nuuly, because they were like, send me the link. And it was like,
oh,
this shirt
that.
I'm wearing, you might wear it in 3 weeks.
Sisterhood.
And it's just like, you know, co-working banter, you just gotta find things to kind of like connect and make it happen. And it was just cute how much like we all started looking at each other's Nuuly orders for that month. Like we
walk
were like
a mile in my blouse.
passing around our phones to see what they had in their box.
Nice.
And people were saying, oh, you gotta try these jeans that Nuuly has, and like providing, you know, the little tips, and it was just really cute. And
it's really sweet.
And that was a little romantic how women connect.
Totally, I could not agree more.
What's the most romantic thing that happened to you this week?
Okay, so this one did bring a it made me actually cry a little bit, which you're gonna be like, wait, what the fuck? I was on my way to a pedicure that turned disastrous.
Oh my god, you forgot to tell that story.
Should I right now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry for those still hanging on. But Siege this week, I was like, hey, we have soured on our typical nail salon. Yeah. So I texted Siege, who has found a new home.
Yeah.
But you have been enthusiastic
I really like it.
Emphatic about it. So I'm like, hey, what's that nail salon that like you want to marry? And she was like, it's this one right by my apartment.
Oh, so this is where we draw the line on revealing names of places?
Well, because I think I've already put a dent in their business. Yeah. How far do I want to go?
Well, but you seem to think that it's deserved.
I do, but I don't want to be Karen.
Okay.
So, like, I'm kind of treading lightly. But she texts me, go to this place. I'm like, great. On my way right now. I sit for a pedicure. First, my most romantic thing happens, and I promise I will get there. But I still believe in love. I'm still happy at this point. Then I go and I sit for the pedicure. I'm sitting in the chair for an hour, maybe a little more, because I'm letting them dry. I'm being lazy with it. I'm working the whole time, so I'm not really like that engaged with my surroundings. I'm just in my laptop. But, okay, think nothing of it. Then I go to stand and leave. I'm wearing a dress. As I stand, a cockroach falls out of my dress.
When you say out,
I don't know.
okay,
I don't know.
yeah,
I don't
we
even
don't
know.
We don't know the provenance.
But he's flipped on his back and wiggling his feet in the air because he's come from my skirts.
yeah.
And I go, oh my God, was that underneath me? And the nail lady goes, it's fine, and stomps it dead. Like swiftly, boom.
That is so scary.
But I'm freaking out, and she's like,
it's so hard. I just wanted to say it is so hard to kill a cockroach with one stomp.
I know.
That's a woman who does it often.
But he did have his vulnerable parts.
Oh,
up,
okay.
I
Yeah.
think that might help a
Yeah.
little. But she's clearly like, shut up, bitch. You shut up about it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm in the immediate, there was a before cockroach and an after cockroach. I'm in the immediate wake of cockroach.
Yeah.
And so there are other women sitting getting pedicures, and they're all craning their necks, being looky-loos, like, what? And I turn around and go, cockroach. It was a cockroach. And now they're, like, ushering me out the company.
They're like, she's crazy.
And I pay full price, and I walk out.
That is
But
kind of crazy. They should have given you a little.
I mean, I think I did my damnedest.
Yeah.
But cockroach. Oh.
Did you tip?
Yes. I went so far as to be like,
Well, she
"Okay,
killed it.
Give me your Venmo," and I'm waiting while they pull out the book of the Venmo
Yeah.
QR codes. I'm like, there are bugs crawling over your patrons. I was being drama, but yeah, I did. I let it be known. I was the herald. Anyway, before that happened, and then I told Siege this whole story, this harrowing story, and she goes, "Oh, I'm gonna go there tomorrow, and I'm gonna think about it the whole time." I was like, "Don't go there."
I have no other option.
That's crazy.
I love it there. And, like, here's the thing. Like, I
crazy.
killed a cockroach in my apartment 2 weeks ago. I'm like,
yeah, I don't
like,
whatever happens to the privacy of your own home. I don't want to pay $50 for a pedicure and also have a bug in my skirt.
sure, but I just feels like that's, like, you think
New York,
fucking
baby.
Estelle, the salon we don't go to anymore, you think they don't have roaches there?
Oh, so we'll say there.
Yeah, we'll say there,
Karen
Estelle.
Yeah.
That place for sure has roaches.
No, I know. It's the contract we signed being
But
in
yeah,
New York.
I don't like the illusion being shattered. Like, I don't.
Yeah, I just would like to be free of the tyranny of cockroaches when I'm sitting. What?
I was going to say we got flashed at Estelle.
That to me was fine.
I mean, yeah, they can't
No.
control that,
No,
but
but
like, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
you're
that's
getting
true.
something.
And I did kind of probably underappreciate the trauma of Estelle for you.
I mean, I was just looking out the window, and all of a sudden,
And
I'm
you
in.
saw a whole hog.
Yeah, which happens. You know, it happens.
It shouldn't. Men should be better.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. But no, my most romantic happened walking to the pedicure. I was coming from looking at apartments. I'm just kind of like bopping around, and it's Friday afternoon. I'm going to Hibachi tonight. I'm going to Hibachi at James. It's just like you feel like
Yeah.
when it's summer in the city, you really do feel like possibilities are endless. I'm alive. How lucky am I?
Yeah.
And, it's kind of like it's 4:30 and a truck is getting unloaded into a bodega just a few blocks away from the salon. And they're blasting Bad Bunny's Nuevo Yol.
Mm.
And it's like from the very beginning. It's like it's all quiet, just sounds of the street. And then they like decide to start playing music. They tee up that song and it just starts emanating from the truck. And I was like, could life be any better?
Yeah.
Just like the scene around, I teared up.
Yeah,
I was
that
like,
is
I'm so
beautiful.
grateful to live in this city.
And then you got a roach.
And then I got a roach in my
Then you
skirt.
got roached.
I got roached. Yeah, so
Well,
that's all I got.
I guess that's what you get for being romantic about New York.
And
It'll
honey,
slap
I still
your
am.
ass. Oh, yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
will.
of
It
course,
will. It'll
yeah.
slap your ass again.
Oh, I had a roach actually encounter in San Francisco.
Ugh.
I was walking with my boss and one other person, and like literally the roach was this big.
Uh-huh.
Like walked like, maybe it didn't walk on me, but like
Near to you?
yeah, and everyone was like, and I said, guys,
Guys.
they're like, the roach. I was like, that's a baby roach. Like, it was literally this big. Like, talk to me when they literally look like mice.
Yep.
Like,
and the one out of my skirt.
I'm sure it was a mouse.
Mouse.
Yeah, because that's a New York roach.
That's
This
a
was
New York
a
roach.
San Francisco
Pipsqueak.
bitch ass cockroach. It was literally, I was like, that's one I could kill with my foot. Like, the ones here, the one I killed a few weeks ago, and then they were like, what happens when you see the, and I was like, you get out your can of bleach.
And this is like a proprietary
Unique.
solution.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
if we should tell people this
No,
is what we
people
do.
should know this
Yeah.
is how you really kill them.
Yeah.
You have to drown them with bleach.
Yeah, that's what we do.
And then you
that's
take...
the book stupid recipe.
And even that doesn't kill them because they're unkillable.
Uh-huh.
So you just are really slowing them down
Right.
with bleach. You're like trapping them in a pool of bleach.
Yeah.
And then what I did, you gotta take a dustpan and then throw him in the toilet.
Yep.
And he's probably
That's
still alive,
perfect
actually.
solution. Yeah,
Just like swimming
in the
ocean.
Atlantic. Yeah.
He's just
doing the backstroke in the East River.
The bleach made him stronger somehow. It's like that COVID remedy that Trump was doing.
Ivermectin,
Yeah.
meth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just a little something from us to you. Hit him with bleach. Everyone was laughing so hard when I was like, yeah, you gotta hit him with the bleach.
So that's just good housekeeping from books.
Yeah, and maybe you share that with our unnamed salon.
Maybe I'll never talk to them again.
I'm going there after this. I still haven't gone.
There you go.
All
All
right,
right,
that's
bye.
it. Bye.